T. Thomas Fortune Foundation, and we're having a preview opening on February 24th of the house in Red Bank at 94 Doctors James Parker Boulevard on Friday. Like I said, Sunday, February 24th, day after my birthday. Anyway, so we're going to be reading Mirama's Christmas Test by T. Thomas Fortune. And you can find it in this book, The Treasury of African-American Christmas Stories by Bettye Collier-Thomas. And Miss Collier-Thomas is a professor at Temple University. So I condensed down the story a little bit here. All right. So it involves Mirama and Alexander, and we had a man to play Alexander, but I'm going to be your Alexander. Just envision it here. Okay. It was Christmas Eve in 1895. And there was but little frost in the air, but it was frosty enough to make people move along briskly as they stirred about in adjacent Florida, the land of sunshine and flowers, of mockingbirds, and of alligators getting together Christmas things for both the little ones and the big ones. For it is very true, as the poet has said, we are but children of a larger growth. Some of the larger ones are bigger children than the small ones. And this is just what Mirama Young angrily thought as she sat near Alexander Simpson in the neat parlor of her own home and watched the logs blaze and hiss in the fireplace. These two young people were up-to-date Afro-Americans with positive views on most subjects and with good-sized tempers with which to back them up. Mirama was an upper-class educated woman who graduated from a famous seminary at the head of her class, and she taught school because she liked it, and she was intensely devoted to her race and its best interests. Her father was a prosperous builder and contractor who thought nothing was too good for his only child, Mirama. Mirama and Alexander were engaged to be married, and they reached an agreement on that point. But there was another point necessary to fulfill, upon which they were still as far apart as the North and the South. Mirama was not a spoiled child, but for a small woman, she had enough force for 3 women, and when she put her foot down, Alexander, who weighed almost twice as she did, could not make her budget, making it very painful for Alexander, who was entirely devoted to her. Mr. Simpson was a fine mathematician who did not possess a literary head, although he thought he did. He taught school for a living, but had no sort of love for the work. He had learned the carpenter's trade in his youth, and his father hoped that with a college education, he would follow in his steps and become a master carpenter and builder. However, his father died just before Alexander finished his courses, and with a great many irons in the fire, there wasn't much left once his creditors were satisfied. Had he been a wise man, Alexander would have taken up his father's business where he left off and saved much of the business and the property. But Alexander was not going to bother with a carpentry business. He thought any sort of a common man could be a carpenter, but any sort of common man could not be a lawyer. And it was just here that Mirama and Alexander differed. And for the 100th time, they had been fighting over it on this Christmas Eve and had reached a point which had fallen upon them like a wet blanket. Mirama was immovable and Alexander was stubborn.
I have reached the conclusion that we'd better break off our engagement, Mr. Simpson.
But you can't back out now, Mirama.
Oh, yes, I can. It is never too late to back out when you find that you have made a mistake.
But have you made a mistake?
Certainly. That is the reason I think it best to break the engagement.
What is the mistake?
What is it? Well, you are as stubborn as I am, and that I give away to you as much as you do to me.
Now, Mirama, be reasonable. You know that you are as stubborn as I am, and I give away to you as much as you do to me.
That is just it. Neither of us ever gives away. One of us must give away. You don't expect me to do it, do you?
You don't love me a bit, do you now?
You know I do. But you are so stubborn.
Now, what am I most stubborn in?
Everything. Everything. You would provoke a saint. Now, take this law scheme of yours.
Don't. We can't agree on that.
If we can't agree on that, we shall not be able to agree on anything, and we had better not get married. And I won't marry you. So then.
What do you want me to do?
What do I want you to do? I've told you 100 times. I want you to give up the idea of reading law, and I want you to stop teaching school, and I want you to go with my father into the carpenter business. You will never succeed in law. Never, never. And you cannot afford to keep me with this salary that you would make in law. And you don't like teaching. You don't like teaching at all. So, I want you to go with my father. You know all about carpentry. My father wants you to help him. He's getting old and can't attend to all his business. And I am not going to marry you unless you do what I want you to do in this matter.
Alexander had studied the question from 1,000 points of view, and he reached the conclusion that law was the business in life he wanted to follow. So he was like, why did you get a college education? Just to be a carpenter.
You needn't say another word. I will not budge an inch. The business that was good enough for your father and that is good enough for mine is good enough for you. You couldn't make enough money as a lawyer to support me, and you know it.
Well, I don't think I know anything of the sort.
Perhaps you don't, but I do, and I am not going to try the experiment. We don't need to argue the question anymore.
Mr. Simpson did not argue the question anymore. He put on his thinking cap and kept it on in dead silence. And for the first time in their courtship, he surrendered. I have been trying to get you to fix the marriage date for a year now. If I do what you want, will you fix the date?
Certainly. I will fix the date any time you say after you write your resignation to the school board. That is your Christmas test.
Alexander took his fountain pen, securing a piece of paper, wrote out his resignation to the school board, and gave it to Marianne.
Oh, we'll fix the date of the wedding.
Tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Oh, this is a Christmas test.
Yes, Marianne's Christmas test.